I was watching the Katie Halper show. Shout out Katie Halper. Um, I've been on her show a few times, and it's always a really, really fun time. Um, but she had Brianna Joy Gray on, from the Bad Faith podcast, Bernie's former national press secretary. And from this clip, you can see why she had that position. Look at how she articulates this message, something that I've been thinking for a while, and I kind of wanted to put into a video, but instead I figured we can just talk about it. So let's see what Brianna has to say here.
So Republicans, the difference is, and we were talking about this a little bit in the aforementioned Clubhouse. Someone said, and I don't mean to go at this person. This person I think was offering this in good faith, but someone said, Democrats are too invested in parliamentary procedures and they just have more respect for procedure. No. What is happening here is that Republicans are able to advocate for what they want purely, forthrightly, because it's not in conflict with the narrative that they have as a party. So Republicans can say government spending is bad. I don't want to do this, period. Yeah. They don't have to come up with convoluted things. Democrats and Republicans share a donor base, but Democrats have to come up with a justification for why what their actions are don't align with the stated priorities of the party. Oh, we help poor people. Oh, we help Black people. Oh, we help gay people. We love all these people. We're the bleeding hearts. And so to do that, what parliamentarianism does is these procedural things do is to provide excuses for why they aren't acting. And conservatives, blue dog Democrats have always served that function. And the reason that you don't have that kind of obstruction on the right as opposed to the left is because the right doesn't require that kind of narrative. They all, as a matter of party discipline, can just openly shoot down the good thing that will help their constituents. Right. They rely on a whole host of other narratives about trickle-down economics and self-discipline and bootstraps and all of that stuff.
Okay, so short clip, but I think there's a lot within that clip that's just 100% accurate. See, the Democrats have a core problem, and that core problem is they have two bases to serve, right? And it's a little bit different than the Republican Party because the Republican Party has, like Brianna was saying, that party discipline. They have, a base of voters that will always come out and vote every single election to a T. It can be counted on. The reason Democrats lose is usually because they have depressed turnout. Now, what does that mean? People are not motivated to go to the polls, right? There's obviously all these barriers already to go out and vote. It's not on a national holiday. People have to work. Sometimes people are working 2-3 jobs. And this is the base that the Democrats, are supposed to be serving, right? The Democrats traditionally were a party of, labor unions, minority voters, working class voters, right? And so obviously we know things have changed a little bit in that sense, but they still are, have to court those votes from that big tent that, they claim to support. Now, the core issue that they have is that they also take massive amount of corporate donor money. And the agendas of the working class and the corporations are diametrically opposed to each other. And this is what Brianna is getting at when she says that they have to come up with excuses, this parliamentarianism, as she said, they have to come up with excuses as to why they can't get things done that their base and a majority of the American people want done. They can't get those things done. For example, Medicare for all. They claim that they can't support Medicare for all because people love their private health insurance, which this pandemic has completely, that was the main thing that pretty much anyone other than, Bernie Sanders for sure, possibly Liz Warren, was their defense of their inability to support a universal single-payer healthcare system, why they still supported some form of Obamacare or whatever, public option, whatever. They wanted to make sure private health insurance was still in play, even though majorities of Americans, even majorities of, in some polls, has been over 50% of Republicans support Medicare for all. Now, why when probably 80% of the Democratic base supports something like Medicare for all, single-payer healthcare, universal healthcare, funded by your taxes, like every other developed nation has, why don't the Democrats support that? Well, they have to figure out a way to walk the line, right, between serving their base, people that need healthcare, poor people that can't afford healthcare costs out of pocket, so they need some type of subsidy through Medicaid, or older folks who don't work through Medicare. They need to find a way to satisfy them, but also satisfy Pfizer, Aetna, Cigna, all these companies that give them massive amounts of money to win their elections. And when it comes down to elections in the United States, majority of the time, whoever has the most money will win. So they go out and court these, big dollar donors. Have, Joe Biden's first, I think, fundraiser was at a health insurance lobbyist house or some shit like that. I mean, it was unbelievable. It might have been Wall Street CEO, something like that. So they have to find a way to serve both these bases, right? And so for them, it isn't just about winning for the American people, right? They have to win their re-elections as well. So they have to find a way to walk this line, right? That's why they have a different definition of winning than you or I, who just wants to see the American people helped, their situations improved, right? They want to see those $2,000 checks, all of a sudden $1,400, all these things. This is what we want to see, but they can't serve those two bases at the same time, or at least they try to. But in order to do that, they hide behind rules and procedures and, we just couldn't get this done. And, the rules prevented us from getting this done, or one senator in our caucus is preventing us from getting this done. We can't dare to go to his state and pitch this to his constituents, actually make him fearful of losing that seat, so he hops on board. The entire party has to be handcuffed by these one or two senators. But when Joe Biden comes out a week and a half before the parliamentarian actually even issues a ruling and tells governors privately and publicly, he said that he doesn't think minimum wage can be in the package. He doesn't think it works through reconciliation. It does feel like he's kneecapping the ability to get that passed. I mean, it's because he is, and it's not that he really wants to get this done, because we've seen when Joe Biden really wants to get something done, he'll go to bat even against his own party, like with the crime bill, like with the Iraq war, with many things in the past. I mean, go back all the way back to busing, which Kamala Harris famously said that little girl was me in regards to busing, and then, she dropped that as well in search for power. So this is why there's a little bit of a difference. If you're not, keen into politics, you don't follow it as closely. If you're wondering why Democrats seem like they hate winning, well, it's because they simply have to serve more than one base. If you have corporate donors that are helping you get reelected time after time, who, like Breonna says all the time, I mean, Jim Clyburn, who, people were attributing Biden's victory almost solely to him because he delivered South Carolina, which ended up, the corporate media ran with that, even though Bernie won the first three primaries. As soon as South Carolina was won, it was like, oh, Biden's got it in the bag. But Jim Clyburn takes more money from the health insurance industry in, corporate bribes, essentially, than any other member of Congress, not just the House, not just the Senate, of Congress in general, right? And so when he comes out for the candidate that is against Medicare for all, something that would help his constituents disproportionately, because there's a large black population in South Carolina, and black people are the most likely to be uninsured or underinsured, and therefore would benefit most from gaining insurance through the government. That feels a little bit like there's something going on there. And well, it's because there is. And I think she just put it so beautifully. She articulated it so well. And I wanted to pass that on to y'all. If you don't know the game, this is the game in Washington. The Republicans can speak from the heart because they're the party of business owners, the party of the wealthy. Now they use things like abortion and things, other culture war type things to keep, to hold their line, to hold their base. But they can pretty much just say, I don't, like Mitch McConnell did. He said, he walked out one day and people are starving and in need of help. And there was a relief bill up, and the reporter asked, well, are there direct relief checks, to help the people out in this bill? And he just looked right in the camera. He said, No, there's not. And he just kept it pushing because he genuinely doesn't care. He doesn't want a bunch of money. You know, they think of it as free money, even though it's your own taxpayer dollars going to poor and working folks. He just doesn't want that, right? But Joe Biden has to go out and be like, oh, I wanted the minimum wage. I really, really did. I wanted it in there. That's why I put it in the original relief package. Now, are we going to take even minor steps to actually advance it, such as firing the parliamentarian or overriding the parliamentarian like the Republicans have done in the past, like they did for welfare reform? Reform, meaning taking welfare and the social safety net, gutting it and sweeping it right from under the legs of working people and minority folks. They did it for that, but he won't even do the bare minimum to get this minimum wage passed. But it's okay because he really wants it in there, guys. He wants it. Jen Psaki will tell you he wants it in there so bad. He knows it's urgent. He knows people can't live on $7.25 and he wants it. That's why he put it in the relief bill, but he won't do the bare minimum to fight for it. That's the game. And it always will come back to they have two bases to serve. Their voters, but also their donors who have an agenda that is diametrically opposed. It cannot exist on the same plane, but the Democrats have to find a way to walk that line. And this is why you get every 2 or 4 years, it just flip-flops. It just flip-flops because, you know, people are desperate and people want a change. And in Washington, that's the game, and that's the way they like it, and that's the way they want to keep it. And they want to keep you fighting with each other to make sure that you don't see that game is happening. You don't see them running out the back door with all the money as you fight to maybe make $15 an hour, maybe, by 2025. Unbelievable.